listeners, and welcome back to the Internet Marketing and Business Solutions radio show with Ron Couming, where we help business owners and entrepreneurs achieve even greater success. The purpose of this show is to bring on subject matter experts from across the globe to help business owners and entrepreneurs level up. And by that I mean, if you are starting a business or you're in business and you want to take it to the next level, it's much better to learn from somebody who's already gone there so you can help avoid all the pitfalls. And then that's what we do for our first two episodes. And in the third episode, I give away some free tips. And again, my name is Ron Couming from both RCS Technology Solutions and RCS Online Solutions, which is a digital marketing company. And we help business owners and entrepreneurs achieve even greater success by attracting, converting, and retaining their ideal customers and clients using various internet marketing techniques and methods. Today, our guest is coming in from sunny California. His name is Erik Brown. He is a realtor, entrepreneur, advisor, speaker, and author. Erik Brown has sold hundreds of properties in multiple states, started and sold multiple businesses and investments, and pushed the envelope of life in countless number of times. Originally from Minneapolis, Minnesota, Brown is the author of One in a Million, arguably the most influential book for those in need of a professional realtor experience. Erik is outside the box and comically questions authority, but most importantly, he is determined and efficient. His thought-provoking and detailed views of the home buying and selling process has earned him speaking engagements across the country every year. He and his agents work with hundreds of home buyers and sellers to fulfill their dreams, and he's also, as we spoke about earlier, an entrepreneur, and he has started and sold multiple businesses. So, Erik, how you doing today?
Hey, glad to be here, Ronald.
Thank you so much. Now, am I correct? Is it sunny California?
It is. It's sunny Beverly Hills.
Oh, Beverly Hills, that's even better.
Even better.
The land of dreams.
Yeah, it's funny, moving here from Minnesota where you've got 6 months of snow, every day here is vacation, and I'm still not used to it. Years later, still getting used to fantastic weather.
Nice. And so Minnesota, yeah. I was just out in Beverly Hills myself for a Commer International's event. I believe you're part of Commer as well?
That's right.
Yeah, excellent organization, great people. Erik, we talked a little bit about you being a realtor, and I've known you for a while. I've just looked on your Facebook page earlier, and I see some beautiful properties. But you've also started multiple businesses, and you're involved with investments. And you also went from one area where you were quite established and then went into another area. A lot of our listeners are business owners and entrepreneurs, and that's kind of stuff that they're interested in, how to, overcome certain obstacles. What kind of tips or how did you make that happen for yourself?
Yeah, so in the beginning, there's two different avenues that we can discuss. The first one is starting a business in an area that you know, which is where I was from, and then there's completely picking up and taking over and starting something new. So I'll give a brief overview of the first, and we can jump in anything else that we want to. So with jumping into business first, my first foray into anything entrepreneurial was buying, fixing, and selling homes. And so I've done about 100 in my career. But the first property, myself and a couple of college buddies, we all had jobs. We were in consulting where we would travel and implement software into really exotic places like Cleveland and Indianapolis and Buffalo. Implementing these manufacturing softwares, and we did that just long enough to basically pay off school loans, and loved the idea of doing something entrepreneurial. And so we bought a first house in a kind of rougher area of Minneapolis for $50,000, and we renovated it and worked on it on the weekends and stepped on nails and pulled out cabinets and painted and roughed through finishes, and made $11,000 by three guys. And we said, oh, my God, we're so rich. Do we retire now? Do we wait till later? We thought we had made so much money. And then we calculated what we made per hour, and it was $2 an hour.
Wow.
And we had said, well, okay, that was basically graduate school. We just got paid to learn how to figure out a house. And I think that was a very valuable lesson of in the beginning, this whole idea of a rolling stone gathers no moss. We just piggybacked off of that first lesson into several other properties, and slowly but surely it got subsequently better.
I love it, and that's really good for like entrepreneurs and business owners, and especially entrepreneurs, because they go through so many ups and downs. And I mean, most business owners are entrepreneurs too. But first starting out, I mean, sometimes you get schooled. Sometimes you learn, you know, what worked, what didn't work, and how to do it and become more efficient. And it just elevates you, and you'll make more money the second time than you did the first, and the third time more than you did the second. So I like the way that you brought that up, and how you actually initially thought that you were so rich, and then when you actually did the math, it came out to $2. But you took and made that a positive, because now you learned, you know, the process, and you could be much more efficient going forward.
Well, and not just that, Ronald, but the idea of doubt and what failure is. We, I think, as a society are taught that failure is so terrible, but really in entrepreneurship, failure is a stepping stone to success. It is a requirement. If you think about anything that you want to be good at, from tango dance to playing basketball, you're not born inherently learning how to shoot a three-pointer or do a certain type of step on the dance floor. And so that takes repetitive practice, and you're going to fail over and over again until you learn. And entrepreneurship is the exact same thing. Anything that you want to be successful at, business included, is going to require you to fail. And so the big lesson I think that we learned, fortunately, really early, was to fail faster, to learn faster.
I love it, and especially like you look at Albert Einstein, and as an example of what you just said, he found 10,000 ways that the light bulb didn't work before he found the one way he did. So it really is a matter of perspective.
Yeah, I think Thomas Edison, and I read that story. I actually referenced that story in my book. It was very applicable.
Yeah, excellent. Good stuff. And also, one thing that I've learned from going to a lot of events and stuff, I speak nationally on digital marketing myself, and one thing I've learned is that when you see somebody who's successful today, often that's 5, 10, 15 years later. You know, they didn't start business today, so you're right. And I think one of the key things, I don't know if it was Greg Reed or somebody recently I just read, and it was about failing fast. You know, you have to learn to fail fast and get out and move on. Am I correct in that?
Yeah. As you get into this space of whatever it is that you want to be successful, internet-based sales, developing a product, working in real estate, working in the stock market, pick your thing. I think that you start to see patterns amongst successful people, and that concept of failing faster is a really good one. Another one is enjoying the process. So I was listening recently to an interview with Jeffrey Tambor, who's been on many things. He's on a show right now called Transparent. He's been in Arrested Development. He's been in many, many things, famous actor. And he's been teaching acting as well for 30 to 40 years. And he had said he learned to love auditioning just for the sake of auditioning. If you think of actors and actresses, which is, you know, typically applicable really here in Los Angeles and Hollywood, so many people dread the process of going through that audition because they really want the part. But in reality, if the whole idea of don't just enjoy being at the top of the mountain, enjoy the climb, once you do that, the rest of the process becomes that much more simple, because this idea of success builds success, you'll be able to expound upon that.
Excellent. Very good advice. So tell us a little bit more now about, like, when you went from Minnesota to Los Angeles, Beverly Hills area, how was it that you were able to kind of like start fresh? Did you already have ties out there? Were they minimal? Were they non-existent? And did you join groups? How did you start reinventing yourself, or just starting over in a new area, even if it was the same industry, but you went somewhere new?
Yeah, that's a phenomenal question. So I, probably not that dissimilar to a famous coach out your way, Bill Belichick. Planning is absolutely essential for success. And so I had sat several months to be able to plan the concept of how I was going to completely reinvent. I had a business. My real estate team was selling between 100 and 150 homes per year in the Minnesota area, a much smaller price point than the Los Angeles area. But I was a little bit smarter than that first house that I had renovated, and I had slightly deeper pockets. So I came with a set amount of seed money and had a big business plan in place of the buckets of marketing and the way that I was going to spend my time, and utilize that over the course of the next year. And it took, for me to hit break even, I think that was at maybe month 14 or 15. So in reality, I didn't come to the Los Angeles market and dominate immediately. I needed to build the foundation, and that took, give or take, a little over a year to do.
So you went to L.A. and it took you a whole year to dominate the market?
Well, dominate is strong, but at least break even and get to the point where I was starting to be profitable. So within that first year, at the, let's say, 6 to 9 months, I was absolutely negative and in the hole.
But you had enough to withstand it, and after a year, you were profitable, man. It's all uphill. I love it, man. What were some of the steps that you took? I mean, you're definitely somebody who has been there. You know, I mean, you've definitely somebody that our listeners could relate to, and the fact that you threw Bill Belichick in the mix. I mean, everybody in this area loves you now. So, well, you know, success breeds success, and if you look at some famous coaches, you've got several in your area, from him to Red Auerbach. So there's patterns, like I said before, that you see in these individuals that are really successful. And so how I was able to do it, now I sell a service. I don't sell a product as much. And in essence, that service is my team and I. So to position ourselves as an expert, certain businesses are commoditized. Real estate, insurance, mortgage. There's a lot of individuals that work in those service fields, and so how do you differentiate? And so very quickly, within that first year, year and a half, I positioned myself to, I had not written a book before. I did while being my transition and moving to California, and so now I was able to utilize, compared to the 40,000 other agents that are in this marketplace, I was able to say that I'm also a published author. Because of some of my and our team's successes in Minnesota, I was able to leverage some speaking and authority and position those in your world, Ronald, of social media and web-based applications where people were able to kind of see that I had what there's a gentleman that works in the marketing space that's kind of a guru to many, a mentor to many, by the name of Dan Kennedy, and he refers to this concept called ACE. Authority, celebrity, and expertise. And if you have those things, it's much, much more likely that you will have to do less selling because people will come to you. So I constantly look to build upon my ACE. And by doing that, it was able to leverage me faster into the eyes of my potential consumers. I love it. And that's one of the things I try to work with my clients on, or I definitely get them around, because, you know, if you're in a sales conversation, if you're trying to sell somebody something, it's a totally different dynamic. The conversation is different. Then it's like you're almost trying to convince them. Whereas if it's an attraction thing, if you've attracted them and they've contacted you because of these ACE things that you just mentioned, principles, now it's attraction based, and it's a totally different conversation. It's more like, what does it take to work with you? How is it that we can work with you? So I absolutely love that. And the fact that you positioned yourself as an authority, that's another thing. Writing a book, and today, the way, to write a book has gotten so much simpler. You obviously have to have the knowledge to do it, but the process is what I'm saying is simpler. So if somebody can position themselves, and given speaking engagements, I mean, it's all, I know you could speak at free networking events just to get your feet wet, so to speak, just to get used to it. And if you don't like speaking, go to Toastmasters and learn. It's like $70 a year. It's a nonprofit. But I love the way that you set about this strategy, and you positioned yourself as an expert, you and your team, and you had other things that you could leverage, but you did that because you built a solid foundation. So that's excellent. If there's one or two things or three tips, we have probably another 10 minutes or so, but and I also wanted you to give out your contact info if you have, your book, how people can buy your book or how they can contact you. But also, if you had like 1, 2, or 3 tips that people who are just starting out or maybe moving from a different area, or maybe they're an engineer and they're going into a different field or starting their own business, something that could help an entrepreneur or a business owner kind of like bridge that gap.
Yeah, that's a phenomenal question. Probably one of the biggest pieces is all of these things. If someone would have told me 10 years ago that they have written a book, they're now doing television commercials, they have the opportunity to be on a real estate show. I'll be on the host of a regional real estate show in about 6 million households here in the Los Angeles area. If someone would have told me things like this, or picking up and moving into a new area that's one of the top markets in their field and being able to be profitable within a year, I wouldn't believe that that was possible. And so a big tip for me to understand and learn from people that were much smarter than me and more successful than me was the idea that business success and entrepreneurship is a marathon. It is not a sprint. And so the idea of taking a step at a time for 26.2 miles and understanding that it is a longer, arduous process. And like the example that I gave earlier of the audition, you have to enjoy the process. So if you're doing a business that you don't love, get out, find something that you love to do, because you're going to be doing this, hopefully for you, not just 6 months or a year. It's going to be a passion and a lifestyle choice. So that would generally be, I guess, tip number 1 that I would share is kind of love what you do and understand that it is more of a lifetime than it is just a quick sprint. Plan, we talked about before, and not to cut you off, Ronald, but planning and having a set plan in place and knowing that that plan is going to fail. We set up these best laid intentions. I'll give an example for me. In the past 6 months, I have started to do television commercials, and those television commercials are, for the advertising source, are about $5,000 a month, and I'm doing them on the History Channel, Fox Sports News, CNN, MSNBC here locally in our regional market. And even in my size business, spending, if I did that for a year, $60,000 is not chump change. And I will tell you, so far in the 6 months, I have converted 0 clients. I have a lot of prospects. And so this comes down to my follow-up process, understanding, which I mentioned in the beginning of kind of tip number 2, that these types of lessons, my first initial plan, I thought within month 1 or 2, people were going to be calling off the hook because now I'm on TV and everyone is going to love me based on this idea of ACE, authority, celebrity, and expertise. That hasn't happened. I've needed to do volumes of tweaks. And you gave the example of Edison and his 5,000 renditions of the light bulb. He didn't think it was going to take that long. And that's been the case with me as well, constantly tweaking, because I know there's basic marketing rules. Social media works. The internet works. Direct mail works. And if you try it for a month or 2 months and it doesn't work, it's not because the medium doesn't work. It's because you need to make certain tweaks to your audience, to the message, to the style. There's a number of things that you can add or improve upon that will allow you to dominate that market. I guess that would be tip number 2. And tip number 3, if I could throw something out, I guess it would be like Nike, just do it. The idea of knowing that you're going to fail and knowing that you're going to have a plan and knowing that you're going to push forward through it, the only way to get through the lessons that you need to learn are just doing them. So you're not immediately going to know how to shoot a three-pointer or dance the tango, and so you keep pushing forward because you want to learn those things. It's the same in business. So if you just keep pushing slowly but surely, and maybe you have the good fortune of that happening faster, you're going to get little successes along the way. I don't remember who said the quote, but I'll wrap up with the idea of someone at one point had said that true luck for people is when preparedness meets opportunity. And I have found that very much to be true. I've had the good fortune of being lucky on many of occasions, but if I look back on it, it's because of the thousands of hours that I have in that's positioned me to be available to have that lucky opportunity to begin with.
Yeah, I love it, man. You've given out some really good gems. If people wanted to reach you, and we're not 100% done yet, but if people wanted to reach you, what would be a great way to contact you?
Yeah, sure. Email is probably best, and it's Erik, which is E-R-I-K, very Scandinavian, very Minnesotan. So Erik at erikrBrown.com. The middle R is in Roberts. So erikrBrown.com.
All right, excellent, and thank you so much. But can you tell us a little bit about your book? I mean, it's you've given some serious gems, and if you can spare us a couple more minutes, can you tell us a little bit about your book and how people could actually get that? It sounds like something they probably should be reviewing.
Yeah, so I'm on Amazon, and if you just Googled 1 in a million, Erik Brown, it'll pop up right away. The book has a real estate tilt to it, but is really applicable to anyone looking for or wanting to build a great service empire or business. And I built it. At one point, I had heard that you're the average of the 5 people that you want to spend your time with. So if I spend my time with 5 O.J. Simpsons, that's going to be a very different experience than if I spend my time with 5 Mother Teresas. So knowing that in life, I decided that one of my philosophies is to have a greater give back. And that was be able to give some of the knowledge that I have to be able to pay it forward, because people have done that for me. And so the way that I thought would be best to be able to share and disseminate most of that information was in a book. And so this book is basically geared towards kind of teaching how to be the best service provider that you can, and as a consumer, what to look for in a service provider.
Excellent. These are some serious gems. I'm going to go back and listen to this episode again, too, as I think the listeners should. And listeners, please know that if you were driving and you were unable to write down any of this information, this show is archived on my website, rcstechnologysolutions.com. It'll be up in a couple of days, and it'll also be on the radio station, WCAP 980, website.com. They will. I'll get it up there too in a couple of days, 2 or 3 days. I'll get the clip and I'll get them all up there. We got like 3 minutes left, and I know the power of networking and meeting people and leveraging connections. You and I met at Commer International event, and I could definitely. I just listened to you and some of the analogies you've given and people you've brought up. I could definitely appreciate spending time with you. But what about joining different networking groups in different areas? Are there different levels of group, local, national, regional? Could you we got like 3 minutes left or so, if you can spare us the time, and maybe tell us a little bit how people could leverage networking groups, again, irrespective of the field they're in.
Yeah, the biggest tip that I would give, and particularly in a service-based field like my industry, it is critical to know your audience. And so it's not just networking with a volume of people or being in a room, it's finding the right room. And so if you can find whatever would be your target audience, maybe that is joining a Chamber of Commerce or a Rotary International. For me, it was joining an organization like Karma, which kind of combined a business, philanthropic, and social environment, all with the demographic that I would want to not only work with, but also play with. And so that group works really well for me to be able to network appropriately. And it might not even directly be for immediate business. It's the understanding of this idea of the network that you create around you will create other ample opportunities.
Excellent. I love it. And I like the way how you told people to look for groups where your target audience is. I also sometimes I suggest to my clients getting next to people who are next to your ideal customers and clients. So in my case, a business attorney or a CPA or somebody who's connected to business owners would be an ideal, so if there was an event where there was a lot of them, I could go build relationships with them, and by default, building relationships with, 500 of their customers by earning their referrals. So that might be something somebody could do too. Am I correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll give you a quick for example as well. I know a gentleman that his position is raising funding. So he raises funding for investment opportunities, and it's not small numbers. It's not $500,000. It's more like 50 million, 100 million plus. And so his network marketing is attending events that will have $1,000, $5,000, $10,000 entry fee. The Milken Institute conference is an example here in Los Angeles, or he'll attend the Clinton conference. He'll also, even if he doesn't want to spend those amounts, especially when we're just starting off in our business, he'll go lobby hug a big event, because you could be in the lobby for free. And so when people come out of the conference room and they're milling around, you can still connect with people. This particular individual, that's how he met Elon Musk.
Wow, nice. And I've never heard that expression, lobby hug.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah, he swears by it. He says it's very effective.
Yeah, good stuff. And Elon Musk, he's a giant, man. What a creative person, too. I mean, his mind is just like 10 levels above the average person. So, Erik, I want to thank you so much. You've given us some true gems, and people have gotten your contact info. You want to give it out one more quick time, please?
Sure. Yeah, that's, again, it's Erik with a K. So it is Erik at erikrBrown.com.
Excellent. I suggest everybody go back and listen to this episode. Like I said, it'll be up on my website, rcstechnologysolutions.com, in a couple of days. And again, I'd like to thank you, Erik. Everyone, you've been listening to the Internet Marketing and Business Solutions radio show with Ron Couming of both RCS Technology Solutions and RCS Online Solutions, where we help business owners and entrepreneurs achieve even greater success by attracting, converting, and retaining their ideal customers and clients using various Internet marketing techniques and methods. Have a great day, guys.